Hey Remax Pros, it's Bradley Whitehouse, and I've got the one and only Michael Burns, broker of
For
record.
sure. One and only. Good morning, everybody.
Thank goodness, one and only. Okay, so Remax Pros for real. Welcome to Remax Pros for real. Here's the deal, Burns. I can't believe after all the people we've done, this is your first time. But here's the rules.
Okay.
No scripts, no idea what we're talking about. In fact, I don't even have any idea what we're about to talk about. So
nothing new.
So nothing new.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
Beautiful.
But the idea of Remax Pros for real is just kind of taking a snapshot of who you are, how you got to where you're at in the business, and just for those that are relatively new to the business, one question that I'll sort of wrap us up on, so you can have a minute to think about it, is if you were to go back knowing what you know now, what, if anything, would you do differently? We'll get to that. We're not there yet.
Okay.
But for now,
Yeah.
I know that you started in the bar business. I've heard that story a bunch. But tell me, how did you get into real estate, and how did you decide that this was your gig?
Well, so since I was in the bar business and had a little sports bar in Southwest Denver, in 1989, I went to real estate school thinking that because we were going to make so much money in the bar business and we were going to invest in real estate, that I should know a little bit about real estate.
Yeah.
And so as I was in real estate school, the broker owner at Century 21 Professionals reached out to me, who I had known pretty much my whole life.
Yeah.
And he recruited me to come work there. And so I started in school, in classes there, as well as while I was getting my license activated. And so I started there in about October of 1989.
1989, so I was in middle school.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
good. Keep going.
So I worked there until about July of 1993.
Yeah.
When I left there, I was the number 2 salesperson at Century 21 Professionals, behind the number 1 salesperson, who was Alan J. Smith at the time.
Never heard of him.
Yep, he was this guy that was pretty
Never
good
heard
at the business. Anyhow, so when it came to Remax Pros, the following year, I think I did maybe 25% more business.
Pause.
Yeah.
What was the cause? What was that initial moment of?
So
time.
that was
It's
kind
time
of the place I was going to go with you there. I as I did 25% more business, I made a bunch more money, and I still paid less at Remax Pros, paying $1,500 a month in office bill. I still paid less at Pros than I did being on a split, because Century 21 was an old-fashioned split company.
Yep.
And while I was on the highest split that you could be at there, it still cost me more money to be there than it did to at Remax Professionals.
But still a pretty big leap, right? I mean, because even
It was
though
a
you're
monthly
paying
bill
split,
instead of a split.
Right.
Yeah, which was
what
scary.
we run into all the time. That's scary. It's
that
ends
was
up being
super
less,
scary.
but super scary. Yep.
Super scary, and we got married that year.
Yeah, super scary.
And found out we were pregnant that year.
Super scary.
Everything about it was super scary. My whole life changed in a 6-month period of time.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was pretty crazy times.
I didn't know you got married after you joined Pros.
Yeah,
I did
I was
not realize
engaged
that.
when I joined, but
No
I got married.
way.
Our wedding was actually right after I joined. Yeah.
Okay.
I joined in 93.
Yeah.
In July, we got married in November of 93.
Yeah. Okay, so you join Remax Pros, and as I understand it, there's this goofy-looking guy called Peter Rackbach that was sitting near you. Give me a break. I mean, what'd you learn when you joined Pros? What was your aha?
Well, it
moment
wasn't
where you
just Peter.
realized-
Yeah, it wasn't just Peter, but he sat across the hall from me.
Yeah.
And so it was, and he was a platinum guy
Yeah.
in 93.
Yeah, that's big.
That was a
money.
lot of money. He was doing a lot of deals.
Yeah.
And Peter was short and had a big old fuzzy do, and he wore a corduroy sport coat with his tennis shoes and with his hiking boots, really. And so it wasn't anything that I wanted to be, except he was great sitting across the table from buyers and sellers. And so in just hearing it, I didn't realize I was learning, but I was learning every day. And just hearing how he dealt with clients and asked for referrals while he was doing business. I can still quote him. I mean, his famous thing, he'd sit across the table from somebody as they're thanking him. He'd be like, "No problem, that's my job. All I'm asking you to do is thank me, to pay me, and to refer me." And
pretty good.
and he'd do it that way every time. And he'd usually end up with a deal or two out of every single deal that he did.
Yeah. I mean, how simple is that? Thank me, pay me, and refer me.
Yeah.
And yet, how many times do we sit at the closing table and we don't ask that simple question?
Well, and especially when you're at that place where they're so grateful for your success at that time, the attitude of your buyers and sellers are like, yeah, absolutely, I would want to refer you.
And I'd want to make sure you get paid. And they
And it
want
was
to be
brilliant.
loyal.
It was brilliant.
Yeah, that's really simple and really smart.
Yeah, he was just
good.
one of many.
Yeah. Okay. So then that's mid 90s and things start to take off. I mean, you really start.
Yeah.
doing
So
well.
I did a whole lot better. And in 1999, about the middle of 1999, Paul, Tom, and Al asked me to manage the new Ken Carroll office. And so you were there the day that we played golf, and they really didn't ask. They just said, "Hey, by the way, we're going to have you manage the new office."
And I remember thinking, sucker.
Yeah.
How?
As
Why?
I was a sucker. So I did that. And I did it with the mindset that at some point in time, I'd be able to be part of the ownership group.
Yeah.
And that was kind of what we all agreed to.
Yeah.
And then things changed
Drastically.
and thus we were the ownership group. So
things changed drastically. Okay, but I don't want to go too far down that path. I want to go back to, because you did. I mean, you had a major shift in your business coming over to pro. So now let's jump into the whole. If you were to go back from the, not from the broker owner, but from the agent perspective, if you were to go back and start your business again, knowing what you know now, what would you do differently? I mean, what would you focus on? Where would your priorities be?
So I did a good job of every single year. I would take Tom Shack, Paul Motzkus, Alan Smith to lunch, separate times, separate lunches, and pick their brains about good ideas. So I had really great ideas from all three of them on how to work my sphere of influence. Yeah. They all three did it in different ways. Yeah. And so I got started on that. But really, if I could go back and do it all over again, I'd like to go back and do Buffini or do Ninja Selling. We took in 93, I think it was, Larry Kendall came down because he was good friends with Tom. Yeah. And did a class for us before Ninja Selling was called Ninja Selling. Yep. I think it was called Real Estate Mastery at that time, and his book was called The Eye of the Tiger. You know, I mean, it was great, but it was similar. It was basically ninja. Yeah. But I didn't get all in. I mean, I kind of went through the motions, but I didn't get all in. If I'd have got all in then, I can't imagine where my business would be now.
Yeah. Yeah. We talk a lot about not just having a plan, which is step one that most of us don't do well, but have a plan that you can execute and that you're willing to step outside of your comfort zone a little bit and execute a plan each year. And I think that's what you're talking about, right? I mean,
totally
it's taking from those lunches that you had with Tom, Paul, and Al, taking from Larry Kendall and Brian Buffini and all these different sources, and every year coming up with a really good plan that you can look at before day one. You can look at and say, I will execute that plan. Mostly it was action steps that I was missing, right? I mean, I had a pretty good marketing plan and I did a good job of executing that, but I didn't take action steps every single day. And those were the things that I was missing. And that's the piece probably where I say, Buffini or Ninja at the time, if I'd have taken more action steps earlier in my career for 5 years before I really got good at it, things would have been exponentially better for sure. Yeah. And not just things from a production standpoint, but just from an organizational standpoint, from a lifestyle standpoint. Right?
From a lifestyle standpoint, from having systems and executing and just having a work day instead of being working all the time. Right.
Yeah. No doubt. Yeah. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
That's really, really good stuff. What do you want everybody to know? I mean, the majority of RE/MAX Pros agents are well beyond the average agent commission, right? Well into the 100,000 GCI and then way up. If you could pick one thing that you yourself are working on implementing for your business right now that you want other agents to pay attention to, what's the one thing?
Well, the one thing probably that I want everybody to pay attention to is how they manage their money.
Yeah.
Because we all make enough. We don't spend it well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Most of the time. And when people look to get skinnier, like people are right now, the first thing they want to do is start taking away from their business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And nobody's willing to take away from things that they do in their household. Right? Everybody's going to keep going to Starbucks for $6 or $7 a day, but they're not willing to add one more mailer to their business plan.
Right.
And the cost is the same.
Right.
What it gets you is different.
Yeah.
And so if I was going to think about just one thing, that would probably be the thing that I'd want everybody to pay attention to. And I'm always working on that.
Yeah. Be the CEO, CFO of your business and treat it like a business, not like a salesperson.
Yep. Spend that money well.
Yeah. Spend it well, plan well.
Yep.
And it's the same thing, right? It's the same thing as marketing and prospecting. Have a plan and execute that plan.
Don't spend money where you're not going to use it.
Same thing on the business side of things,
Yeah.
the financial planning side of things. Execute well.
Yeah.
All right.
There's really very few people that can just throw money away in this business.
Yeah.
Throw money at something and hope that it works.
Yeah.
Rarely does it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So plan it, spend it, execute it, follow up.
Good job, man.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thanks, buddy.
All right. Have a nice day.
Have a good day, pros.